Can you bring your mic a bit close to your face there, Martin?
I can. I'm just conscious that I'm in a flight path, so I might have to go mute at some point.
As Dave said, join us from your Miami drug den, which is...
Yeah, I've got all the Synatogen you need.
Hi, this is Steve, aka @AllAnthar on Twitter, and here are some more of my gaming vexes.
Thanks everybody for joining. Let's just do a quick round the room of who's here.
Hi, Fabio Vallone at Twitter. I'm also Morg Miniatures with my wife Julie. So,
hi, I'm Kat. I'm Mia for Beer on Twitter. I am also Nevermind the Dice Rolls magazine.
I'm Neil. I'm at Old Scouser RPing on Twitter.
I'm David Patterson, Boy Genius, at Dave Patters on Twitter.
I'm Andrew. You can find me on Twitter at Zos93.
mcookie123 on Twitter.
I'm Gianni at Gianni_Vacca on Twitter.
Hi, Rick Knott at Lintillers on Twitter, and I've got an 8th of Voltarol if anyone wants it.
Okay, as long as it's wrapped in a little cellophane, that'll be all good. So this is just one of those, I don't know, let's say interesting ideas I had about. I look back over the last 6 years since starting gaming again, and I've actually played mainly run 46 different systems over the past 6 years. And I just thought to myself, within those, what's better and what's best? So I thought, as you know, one of the most clickbaity episodes we ever did was around old school versus new school. I thought we'd try and do something similar again and just cause a bit of, what would you call it?
Shitstorm.
Oh yeah, yes, exactly. Cause that on Twitter just for fun. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through and I've ranked all of the games that I've played or run over the past 6 years. I know, Fabio, you expressed some concerns about methodology. I'm going to lay it out to you guys, all right? But what I'm going to say, first of all, is that obviously, you know, in any game of 46, there's going to be a winner, there's going to be a loser, okay? So all the games I've played, I've enjoyed, okay? I don't buy games I don't like, and I don't tend to run games that I haven't got in hard copy on my shelf. So I've invested and put my money where my mouth is. Also, this is absolutely no reflection on the players or the games masters involved in all of them. Okay, I've had nothing but amazing gaming experience over the past 6 years. It's, without exception, it's always been brilliant, except in Neil's games when we all got killed. But apart from that, yeah, totally brilliant.
That was great for me, so I don't care about
you. Had a good time. Okay, all right. So quickly, all right, because we want to get on with the meat of this, which is all the arguing about where I've ranked things. So the methodology I've used, but what I did was I took each game and I ranked it against every other game. And I said, would I rather play this game or run a series of this game? If it was yes, it would get a 1. If it was actually no, I'd get a -1. And if it was not sure, it'd get a 0. So I'll show you the screen, and I'll put it, when we do the show, I'll put a little link to it as well, because this is crazy. Let me show you this. You'll like this, Martin.
Steve, I assume you have no social life.
No,
yeah.
This is it. I haven't been able to read something that size since I was in primary school, Dave.
Okay. All right. So what we've got then, okay, so across the top we've got 13th age. Okay, so you can see I'd rather play
at the bottom
13th age than Nibiru. Okay. I would rather play 13th age than Knights. No, in fact, 13th age I'd rather play than Nibiru, but I'd rather play Knights Black Agents than 13th age. Does that make sense?
Oh,
but I'm equally,
like that.
Plus or minus on blah, 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 blah. Okay, let me stop sharing that screen because I know you're all looking at the scores and the doors. Okay. Right. And we want to keep some surprises going on. So that's the methodology. And really, it's about which one I'd rather run a series of. Okay. So obviously, context is everything. As with most of Dave's comments, context is everything. And so some of these games are much more suited to, in my opinion, to short-term play, like 1 or 2 sessions, blah, blah, blah. Others, series play, 6 to 8. I'm thinking, right, series play, that's where I'm most comfortable. Also, I might be more influenced by things I've played recently. So actually, I might think, well, absence makes the heart grow fonder and all that. And also, it's entirely subjective, which is, let's say, the heart of all Twitter storm discussions. With subjective opinions, let's argue about which subjective opinion is better than the others. Okay, so before we get stuck in, any predictions, any thoughts? What do you think is going to come where?
I think it was also said in Discord that number one's going to be RuneQuest. End of game.
No, I'm sorry. Earth Dawn is almost certainly going to be up there.
I thought RuneQuest was going to be last.
Wow.
Heart and Spire should be near the top.
Forbidden Lands must be in the bottom. Surely must be near the bottom, surely.
Loving it.
I think the One Ring is going to be heavily get a lot of love.
Well,
get a lot of love.
We shall see.
Definitely.
We shall see. So there's 5 sections to this. Right. Any thought from you, Dave? Any predictions? Gianni, I know you're here for the RuneQuest all the time. Kat, any
Middle
thoughts?
Earth role playing should be number one.
No, I had a question though. So your chart is basically from a GM's perspective, right?
It's from my perspective, me personally.
Those are games that you GM'd or games that you GM'd and played?
Both. So games.
Both.
Some of them the majority I've GM'd. I've obviously played some of them, and I've both GM'd and run some of them as well. So it's purely from.
Yeah. And I had a second question: is beyond the +1s and -1s, did you have room for special bonuses like a further +1 for setting or whatever? Or
So
what you mentioned,
it's a good
campaign
question.
versus one-shot play, stuff like that.
So yeah, because it's about series play. That's where I'm coming from with it. So what would I prefer to run for series play? And So for me, it's a combination of rules and setting. Okay, so there's a setting, something that engages me. Do I like the rules? Doesn't necessarily mean are they simple rules. Sometimes they're really complicated rules, but there's just something about them I really like. Sometimes they're really complicated rules, and I think actually I just hate those, and that's what it is. But it's really, what would I like to play in that context of back setting, rules? What just it was a gut instinct, I think, rather than. But there were so many now, I think it all balances out.
I was just going to ask: is Fall of Dota Green in there? Because you played that, but you didn't run it.
It is. Yes. So things I played and run. I went back through my diary for the past 6 years. Okay, I've got no social life, Dave, as you pointed out, and looked at all the games that I've got in there. So that's all good. Kat, any reflections on my mental health?
It's perfectly normal. I cannot say a word given the stack of games I have to review. I cannot say anything about anyone else's hobbies at all. I am slightly concerned given the, no offense guys, slight age category here, that I feel that things with tables might end up being a bit higher up in the ranking compared to what should be, which is more storytelling systems that are rules light.
Well, we will see. We will see, won't we? Okay.
And RuneQuest should be down the bottom, along with
Let me just put my pipe out and answer that.
Just tap it out on the heel of your shoe.
Divorce papers
Lean against the
on
grate.
Monday.
Adjust your tweed. Okay, all right.
If I could get up out of this chair in frustration and anger, I would.
All right, let's get stuck in. Okay, so counting down from number 46, we have got Scum and Villainy. Number 45, we got Mask Witches. Number 44, Nibiru. Number 43, Battletech, MechWarrior Destiny. Number 42 is Golden Heroes. Number 41 is Worm. Number 40 is John Carter of Mars. Number 39, Blades in the Dark. So, what do you think? Any reflections? Any thoughts? Any hands being thrown up in horror?
A little bit sci-fi.
I think that. Woo, Dave! Hands thrown up in horror.
2 hands for Golden Heroes.
Yes, I agree. That is an outrage.
That is an aberration.
Okay, so okay. Was it full disclosure? I've played it once Okay, and it was Chris that ran it at was it Convergence up in? Was that
Convergence.
Yeah. Okay. So, and again, no reflection. Chris ran it brilliantly, as you'd expect. So, yeah, and I think for me, just the system was a bit, and I don't know, I'm not really much of a superhero game, but again, subjective. But your thoughts? So we've got hands up. This is like a Teams meeting at work. Right, hand raised, Gianni.
Yeah, given how splendidly you meshed Blades in the Dark with RuneQuest back in your RuneQuest game, I'm surprised to see it such low in your overall ranking.
I'd like to say, from my perspective, I took all the good bits out of Blades in the Dark, which is the clocks, and put it into RuneQuest.
Cover.
Which is the cover. Wow. Okay.
After 3 months, this is pre-pandemic, so it's face-to-face. After about 3 to 4 months playing Scum and Villainy, I'm not surprised it's down there, because you know how much I hate PBTA, and you just confirmed it, and thank you so much, Steve, to say that. Scum and Villainy.
I still like it.
Yeah, but it's at the bottom, mate. It's at the bottom. So I'm happy customer there. It's just that confirmation. Thank you so much.
Just to say, I think that, I'm going to back up Kat's point, really, in that there's an awful lot of what might broadly called like storytelling games.
At the bottom.
So maybe Kat's point is valid there, that they're heavily represented in that bottom 10. Obviously, apart from the aberration of Golden Heroes. So I couldn't find the hands up button that was just like a middle finger. That's what I was looking for that. But other than that, I think the ones I've played there, I think they were definitely at the bottom of my list as well.
Okay.
I think where the concept is amazing, but it is defeated by a system, I would say, some of those there.
I think although we're playing Nibiru tomorrow night, but I think probably Nibiru is where you're coming from with that one.
And Mask Witches as well, I think, really. Amazing concepts, lots of really interesting stuff going on. I found the system, for me, as not really to my taste in terms of what I would like to get out of games sometimes. But there we go. We're all different.
Yeah, of course. And as I say, if I was running at a con, let's say, if it was between MERP and Mask Witches, I'd run Mask Witches at a con. Because it's just I know, Dave. But yeah,
it's a rant now.
Okay. Well,
I can't wait to see Twitter after this. Dave is going to be on fire.
Gianni made the point I was going to make about Blades in the Dark and RuneQuest. But what I was going to comment on was a good comment on Worm and John Carter of Mars, both games that I played in. And I thought they were really good. But I can see in some ways why they're lower ranked, because they both kind of limit the scope of the kind of campaign. I mean, obviously, Worm, being kind of Neolithic, is moderately limited in what you can do, and also John Carter, being quite pulpy, again, is moderately limited in what you can do. So while they're both really enjoyable games, 6 to 8 week campaign, I think they're fine. But I think any longer than that, I don't think you could have played them for like 5 years like we did with Inquest. But
one thing about Verm, I thought, was you get what you put into it, which means, God, you've got to work to get much out of it, because I think you really have to have enthusiastic players. You have to have who are willing to go with it, and also you need to tweak the system a bit. So some of the sort of types of characters are a bit tricky. But I can imagine now, sort of GMing it must be like swimming through custard. I mean, not easy to actually get it to work. Yeah, that would be tough.
The guys, obviously, you played in that, Rick, but it was great fun, and I think
yeah.
I mean, the setting is there, but I think the rules are a little bit creaky. I think there are and again, just coming back to John Carter, I think there are probably better rule systems possibly that you could use to model that same thing. So, I
mean, I'm not surprised by that list, and the fact that there are quite a few story games in there. I agree with most of it. Of the ones I've played, they are in my kind of my lowest ranked ones. Yeah, the Golden Heroes was the one that I do have it as fairly low down my list, just because it's I don't know. I think it's quite crunchy, and I've had fun playing it, but I've not played it that much. And I always seem to end up with the lamest superhero in the world as well.
I played it twice. We played it at Grogton, didn't we?
Yeah, we did. Yeah, we played
fun. I enjoyed it. Yeah,
it was a lot of fun, especially if you got superhero like yours. when you're the old professor who could like destroy the world, Steve, or something like that. I think when his eye was Mr. Sneeze Guy or something who could barely blow his own nose.
Should be ever called Liverbird. Imagine what sort of powers they'd have, you know.
If I could choose it, yeah.
He had an adamantium rectum. That was about it.
I think
I saw him support the Fall in 1990.
I played bass for Adamantium Rectum. Yeah. So I will say that, like, the game where you can kill yourself blowing your nose. We're coming to that later, which of course is Forbidden Lands. So we'll come to that anyway. Right. So. $38, Middle-earth role-playing. 37, D&D 5th edition. 36, The Expanse. 35, King of Dungeons. 34, 13th Age. 33, The D-Sanction. 32, Against the Dark Master. 31, Zweihander. So, expressions of outrage and horror at that point, please.
I think it's over to Dave. Is it just over to Dave at this point?
To you, Dave.
You seem to have put 13th Age at 34 when there are 46 possible slots. 13th Age, of course, should be 47th on this list. I can't believe that you've gone for the two derivations of a similar system in the bottom bit. I think it's extraordinarily bad form.
I think he means it, folks. So, I mean,
I'm just shocked. I'm genuinely.
So Dark Master, we've only started reading it now, okay? And I think, you know, it's an ongoing conversation we're having about actually how the level of crunch in the game. I mean, I think, you know, if you're looking at MERP, clearly the background is superior to all other backgrounds ever, okay? Which, you know, is fair to say. Even Jan is nodding at that point, even though he's a confirmed Glorantha fan. But I think it's how playable it is in terms of just keeping things. And I think just to Kat's point, a lot of the games that favour tend to move a little bit more quickly, which I think it's fair to say Against the Dark Master combat possibly doesn't do that. Although, for those of you who are playing in the game, I have just added a combat timer, which has got like a countdown clock against, and at the end of the countdown clock, it stops your turn. So that's to the end if you haven't done it by then. I'm setting it literally at 6 hours per combat round, and then we're going to go down from there. Martin's laughing.
I agree. The setting for MERP is wonderful. To be fair, where it's come from, obviously it was going to be very rich. The rules are awful. It's table upon table upon table, as far as I can see, and supplement upon supplement. So I do feel just because it's unwieldy and it stops you immersing yourself in the story of Middle Earth, I feel it should be a damn sight lower than it is.
Wow.
Well, you've got the One Ring, which I think is probably on here as well, because I've just finished reviewing that, and it flows so much better. You can get into the story of the journey and the venturing and being a little group together, you know, doing stuff. Whereas MERP, I've rolled this. Right, what table's that again? Oh, that one. Right, great.
I have run MERP live at a grog meet, and Rick, I think you can recall my. Is it Rick or Martin? I can't remember who. Is it? Someone recalled my exclamation at the end of the game.
Yeah. It was. Was it? Stood up behind the best GM screen in the world, put your hands on your head, and exhaled after the end and said, "Shittest system ever."
Why isn't it lower?
MERP is modules in search of a game, basically.
Yeah. Oh, well, yeah.
Then we'll come. Sorry, hang on, Dave, because you want to come back on that MERP thing. We'll come to you, Neil. Sorry.
I think you better let Neil go. I'm speechless.
Go on, Neil.
Okay. And what I find interesting about the MERP is 38 and Against the Dark Master is 32, because they are very, very similar. And I think because MERP actually has a better setting, I guess the Dark Master kind of doesn't really have a setting. It's just kind of like, I don't know. I'd have been inclined to have switched them. But everything else that I've played, I would agree with you on pretty much. I'm pleased to see D&D 50 where it is, a bit lower down on my list. But I think otherwise, I think you've nailed most of those.
I mean, the reason Against the Dark Master is higher is just because it's a slightly more streamlined system than MERP. So at its heart, it's the same thing. But for example, there are no moving maneuver tables in Against the Dark Master where you try to move and you actually only move 30% of the distance you wanted to move because you rolled low. So I can't walk over there. I can only roll 30% of the. So
yeah, but it's like a 600-page, 700-page rule book versus like what was MERP, like 150 pages. I think that says a lot.
Being complete is not a sin. It's fair to say. So.
I can't believe that D&D 5e is down there because, okay, we are of a certain age, but you've got to realise as well, Steve, that there's the whole generation of 20-year-olds whose gateway. Oh, okay, but there's a whole is a whole generation of 20-year-olds who coming into role playing, and straight away it's D&D 5e. It's the biggest selling one at the moment. More D&D 5e stuff is and desanction. I really love it because it's such a small little game. It's really cheap and Paul did a really wonderful job of it. And going back about Against the Dark Master, oh my God, that cover, doesn't it just say that's Middle Earth? That cover is Middle Earth cover. It's not MERP, but it is MERP.
So this before I come back, because everyone's got their hands. So this is going to be a longer podcast than I expected. Okay, so 2 point. All these games I like. The desanction is great. I run it. In fact, I ran it at Games Expo. But again, would I like to run a series of it? Not so much. 5e, yeah, I get it. I mean, it's the most popular. I love it. But if other people want to rank their games and put it at the top, happy days. For me, I just look at something and it says 5e on it. I think, I don't know. It's all right. It's okay. But for me, it's not the GM experience that I like. So as a player, maybe where I can romp around and destroy everything with no threat at all, happy days. But as a GM, I just feel like I'm serving up things for players to kill, which is not my thing.
I've never played the desanction, but I've only heard good things about it. So I'm surprised to see it with a low ranking.
I can only qualify these things so much. I like the desanction. Okay, Paul, don't come and get me. Please come on the podcast again. So at some point,
I was just interesting to see. I've moved on from MERP, obviously. There's too much hate in the room, but I was interested to see King of Dungeons and 13th Age have scored the same, but obviously ranked King of Dungeons slightly up. Funny enough, actually, I thought King of Dungeons is probably the game that 13th Age should have been, and slightly better explained, slightly better set out.
Yeah, no, and I think 34 to 35 is pretty much the. I mean, if you look at it between Zweihander, which is number 31, then you've only got 8 points, which actually is not that much. They're like in the middle. They're sort of not that fussed about playing them. So King of Dungeons, so Baz ran it for me at Owlbear a few years ago. It was great, really enjoyed it. I just looked at it and I just thought, I don't know, there's something about the rules, just the complexity of the way the dice rolls work and that sort of stuff. It requires a lot of work, which is fine, and I think with all these things, it's sort of prompted me to go back and run them again at some point. And I think King of Dungeons is probably one I want to run at some point in the future. I'll redo this list. And I'll have to, rank it. And we have another podcast talking about it. So it's all about content generation, guys.
Yeah, so a specific point, a general point. Specifically, I'm surprised to see Expanse that far down. I think the age system is not without its faults. The stunts are just a little bit baffling. Like the whole idea, you generate stunts. But then when you come to look at the stunt table, it's so absurdly specific that it's like, if you're opening a door, then you can get plus this on that, and it's like, well, I'm not opening a door, I'm shooting a gun. So I think that is a problem. Obviously setting is great, and I think at its core it's a good system. The other thing is and this is like a general point, like often we're playing these over the medium of a VTT module.
Yeah, that's important to say. Yeah,
did you factor that into it as well? So for example, I think like the Against the Dark Master half the struggle is that the module makes it like really less intuitive. And like I can see around the table how MERP and Against Darkmaster do work a little bit better, because there is a little bit more kind of kinetic. Where's my dice? What dice do I need for this? And there is a little bit more kinetic kind of interactivity. Whereas if it's a Foundry VTT, it becomes a sequence of bilateral conversations between the player and the GM, like when you're in a combat round. And so the other players don't necessarily have agency within that and don't get a chance to kind of enjoy somebody else's roles the way you do in a tabletop. So I think there is an issue here with like, maybe we do need to factor in the fact that a lot of this is mediated by an online module.
Absolutely, and I think I've said, probably an awful lot of my hobby is setting things up on Foundry VTT, just because I play on Foundry VTT, but I like messing around on there as well. And I think that's the first time ever that MERP and Against the Darkmaster and Intuitive have been put together in the same sentence. So
it's all relative, Steve.
It's all relative.
It's all relative.
All right. So in at 30, we've got Swords and Wizardry. 29, Lamentations of Flame Princess. 28, Tales from the Loop. 27, Hero Quest. 26, Barbarians of Lemuria. 25, Mothership. 24, The Dying Earth. 23, Traveller. 22, Open Quest. And 21, Rune Quest. Over to you guys.
OMG.
Gianni, any thoughts?
Yeah, I'm just surprised that you could find 20 RPGs better than RuneQuest, but what can I say that? No, I don't know. We'll have to wait to discover the first 20 RPGs from your list to figure out what could possibly be better than RuneQuest.
Okay.
No, I'm also surprised. How did you play or GM Lamentations?
So I played it.
You played it.
So yeah, so it was Neil ran actually quite a very long series, and also I sort of played a couple of short things, but it's usually maybe it's about Neil. I don't know.
I think it's one of my favorite games.
Yeah. Okay. Like I say, if I were going to rank these on a different day, if I had more sleep, more beer, less beer, who knew? So I'd probably get ranked differently. So
yeah. So I Barbarians of Lemuria at 26. I mean, that's just I don't know. I mean, like everyone's got the favorite game, right? But like, I suppose if I look at, like, you could argue, RuneQuest and Open Quest are better games than Barbarians of Lemuria, just because of the scale of them and so on, and Traveller. But the Dying Earth with its like weird narrative, trying to be clever, coming up with clever catchphrases and whatever. And we're not talking about DCC Dying Earth here. We're talking about the original Pelgrane. Yeah. I just don't get that. I just don't like, and I don't think it's certainly. Well, I don't know. But I mean, I can see why you got Swords and Wizardry and Lamentations there. I guess they're not, they're not everybody's things. But
just on the Dying Earth thing, have you ever tried to run the Pelgrane press system for this? No. Okay. All right. So
I played it though. I played that Dying Earth game.
Yeah. So was that with me when we ran?
Yeah, it was.
All right. So you've got two different settings. You've got the revivification. I can't even say it. Yeah. Revivification portfolio, which is basically Dying Earth Light, and then you've got the original Dying Earth rules. And the reason they did that portfolio is because it's really hard to run and play, because to get the flavour of Dying Earth in there. I absolutely love the Dying Earth background. If we were ranking backgrounds, it would be right up there. RuneQuest, if we were ranking backgrounds, it would be right up there. But this is about me running a game, set game in that world, As we know, RuneQuest, we switched over to Open Quest because the combats were taking too long. Maybe I've got a thing about combats taking too long in games. I don't know. But I love the crunch is fine. But that's where the Dying Earth is in there.
I was just going to say that's a selection to piss off everybody in the role-playing community, isn't it? Really, RuneQuest is in the Traveller's in there.
Yeah.
Barbarians. How can you possibly have Barbarians of Lemuria in that? I'm still recovering from Mert being 38th on this list. But jeez, you really stuck the boot in there, Steve.
I like all these games. I have got all these games. I will play all these games. I will run them. But it's just about
no. You're saying hate. You're saying you hate these games. That's what we're.
It's okay, Dave. If you get editing rights, Smurf will be number one as usual.
right. Barbarians. So I've run it as a one shot, which is great. Again, I think I'd struggle running a series of it. Maybe I think it sort of sits in the same. And it's actually not that far away in scoring from things like.
You've played it as well.
I played it. I played it. Yeah. And I really love playing that game. It's great fun. I think as a I know you've run a series. In fact, you've run quite a long series, haven't you, Neil?
Yeah, I have. Yeah, it's a great game.
Yeah, and I think it suits your preference in terms of rules as well. So things like that's an old school Essentials, and others very similar.
So I expect there's quite a lot of us here thinking, oh, what's going to be in the top 10? What's going to be in the top 10? What's going to be in the top 10? I think I've sussed it out, and I think I've sussed you out, Steve.
Go on then.
This is the first of the Year Zero engine games to be popped up, and that's Tales from the Loop. I think you're going to have Vaesen. I think you're going to have a whole lot of Free League games up at the top because they are good. They are the new kids on the block, and they are absolutely brilliant because you've got rid of the the grandfathers, the RuneQuest, D&D, and Traveller. They've gone. And I'm thinking I'm going to put. I don't know if you're an Alien fan or a Vaesen fan, but I think they're going to be the top 10. I think, as I said, Year Zero engine. I love it, and I think yeah.
Right, thank you. Well, we'll see, won't we, Fabio?
I'm curious because you said that if you're talking about Glorantha, you absolutely love it, and basically you've got obviously two different ways of playing Glorantha. At 27, you've got Hero Quest, and at 21, you've got RuneQuest. Now, if you have an objection to lots of tables and quite crunchy games, which you do, then obviously that goes to the RuneQuest. But then you put in Hero Quest, which is a not crunchy game at all. So basically, it's offering two completely different ways of playing Glorantha. You claim to love Glorantha, but both the Glorantha games are in between 30 and 20.
This is Steve on trial.
I love it. I put it to you.
Okay.
You don't love Glorantha at all.
Let me unpick that a little bit. So Hero Quest. So I've only ever played Hero Quest. I've never run it, and when I played it was with Ian Cooper. Ian's a brilliant GM. He's very. Dave says guilty as a weasel in a hen house. Ian's a brilliant GM, and he tells a fantastic story. I'm not entirely sure that I ever really understood why I was rolling what I was rolling. But that's a me problem. I completely get that. And I've read the rules, and I think if I was going to run RuneQuest again, what system would I use? Hero Quest, not so much. I don't think. I think it's okay. I think it's sort of in the same box as things like Mask Witches, and I know it's not the same system, but it's very narrative. Not as narrative, but I think there's a lot of it there. So yeah, it's good. It's okay. RuneQuest, again, background great. The system itself, again, combats just took forever. Hence the fact I jumped into OpenQuest. Now OpenQuest came at number 22, RuneQuest 21. If I was going to run a system of this,
OpenQuest is far worse than RuneQuest.
OpenQuest, it's not far worse. It
should be.
The system's better.
Should be. Wow. Okay. Yeah. All right.
RuneQuest is way too complicated, and I don't want to spend a whole night playing like 2 rounds of combat. It's just bollocks. So OpenQuest is much quicker.
Then you should play Hero Quest.
But that's narrative bollocks. I don't want to play that. Like there's a difference between a simple system and a simple narrative system.
Fastest downloaded podcast ever.
There you go.
Right.
This is how civil wars start.
It is indeed.
What have you done, Steve?
What have I done? I did it with mind wide open. Okay, Martin, and then before we move on,
I'm just coming back to Neil. Really, I like this idea that Hero Quest is too narrative bollocks. RuneQuest is too crunchy. You're like the Goldilocks of bollocks, Neil. So clearly, in the middle, that's the perfect amount of bollocks that you are happy with.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is Barbarians of Lemuria, presumably. Bollocks of Lemuria, maybe. Yeah.
I'm keeping all this in, by the way. I'm not bleeping this out. It's going to be explicit warning right at the start.
I think, interestingly, Barbarians of Lemuria Mothership like you put they're kind of very close in your ranking. I wonder how much of that is the fact that you can, because I think Mothership is a great one-shot game, but I tried to run it like three linked adventures, and it does lose its kind of momentum. And I wonder if that's like something similar there with Barbarians and Mini. So maybe they just they've ended up there because they're kind of one-shotty rather than lending themselves to series. Like, Neil's obviously shaking his head again, but I say bollocks to you, Neil, bollocks.
If I was going to rank these for which ones would I rather run at a convention, okay, it would be completely different. I think probably the top one might be I'd still run at a convention, but it's an utterly different experience running a series as it is like a one-shot game as well. So you need to go from 0 to 100 miles an hour. But again, I think, come back to your point, Neil, I think RuneQuest background great. It's not my I don't know, weirdly. The Dying Earth, I think, is probably, so Jack Vance's Dying Earth has got probably better for me than RuneQuest, so maybe I need to go and redo that. But I recognise the RuneQuest it's got a place in my heart. We ran that game for a long time. It was brilliant. But again, maybe in 5 years' time, I'd say now's the time for RuneQuest Renaissance. Okay, but perhaps I've been too much spent on it for the time being. Anyway, right, moving on. Number 20, Alien. Number 19, Cthulhu Hack. Number 18, Fall of Delta Green. 17, Star Wars D6. 16, Knights Black Agents. 15, Call of Cthulhu 7th edition. 14, Earth Dawn. 13, Spire. 12, Heart. And 11, Jackals.
I'm very, very surprised, actually. I'm pleasantly and happily surprised. Because this means Vampire is in the top 10. And I honestly thought you'd rank it. I honestly thought it was going to be in the 40s. I'm really quite chuffed at the moment.
I'm a story gamer.
Yeah.
He's got a very large collection of frilly shirts.
Oh, don't get.
You can't see what I'm wearing down below here, Dave. So.
I have to say, I love the fact that Spire and Heart are so close together, because they are essentially what they are. But they're all good. They're all good games for campaigns. All of these. I don't think. Sorry, I said all those games are great campaign games, whereas the ones previously, the odd one shot. Maybe 3 or 4 games, but I wouldn't want to play a campaign of. All of these ones are campaign games. You could easily see yourself 6, 7, 8 sessions without having any problems. I could see the shaking and nodding from various screens. It's very, very disorientating. But I'm really pleasantly surprised there. There's some
there you go.
I've
got a friend. I've got at least one friend on screen.
Well, I was just going to come to what Kat said. Alien. I'm not sure it is a campaign game. I mean, really, I think the kind of clues in the name. It's you know what's going to happen, don't you? It's not like a mystery Well, I suppose you can investigate kind of deserted spaceships, but at the end of the day, you're going to end up facing a xenomorph. So, to me, it's quite a limited kind of. I mean, it's a brilliant. Don't get me wrong, the rules are brilliant. It's really an enjoyable game to one shot. I can't see it as a campaign game.
So, I ran Destroyer of Worlds, the series. Okay, so. So for me, I suppose there's run as a campaign game, there's background, and then there's actually ease of use of the rules. Okay, so I think with Alien, the rules are actually pretty straightforward.
The rules are good. Yeah, they are good.
And a series was okay. I think it was always ever going to go one way with a series of Alien, isn't it? It's in my experience, it's rare that anyone gets out alive. Okay, usually they end up killing each other.
Which brings me to my other point, which is Jackals. How can Jackals rate 10 places higher than RuneQuest? Essentially, Jackals is a BRP Bronze Age game, which is exactly what RuneQuest is, except the background isn't quite as good.
Actually, it's Open Quest is where it is.
Well, it's still BRP, though.
No,
really?
It's still Open Quest, which isn't RuneQuest.
One could argue that RuneQuest is a derivation of BRP.
Yeah,
RuneQuest is BRP. It's
a derivation of.
Oh God!
Martin's killing himself laughing. Yeah, no. I mean, so with Jackals, I mean, again, I've played it once, and Dave ran it in Tembe.
I like it. I like
it's great. It's great. It's easier to play. The combats are a bit faster. I like Mesopotamia and that sort of Bronze Age background. So, there you go. Subjective.
Yeah, just what I said. I think Jackal is a placeholder for Bronze Age RPG with a simpler combat system than RuneQuest. So it's a placeholder. And,
so maybe I'd run RuneQuest using the Jackal system. Maybe I'd do that.
Sorry. Yeah, Star Wars. I'm surprised because you were talking about, a great background. And I think Star Wars does have a great background. And pretty much everybody, unless they have lived, in a cave or whatever, since 1978, everybody knows the background. Mm-hmm. And the system is, quite simple. Even if you roll buckets of dice, that still... So it should, I don't know, it should be, given what you have said, I thought it would rate higher.
A little bit higher. Okay. All right. Well, we're getting towards the top 10 next. And what you see is a big differentiation with the ones that are at the top of my list are really heavily weighted towards the top of the list. In the middle, it's much of a muchness. But yeah.
Building on what John said, I mean, that Star Wars G6 game was actually responsible for the Star Wars Expanded Universe. The whole kind of Expanded Universe really came out of the role-playing game. So, that pretty much created the Star Wars universe that we have now.
I'm not interested in cultural impact. I'm interested in whether I like it. Sorry, this is entirely subjective. This is the me show. So this is, I think, when we have the Vex element, it's not about the games; it's about the decisions I've made, which is fine because this is what it's all about.
No, I agree with you. I think Alien is so much fun to play, and there's lots going on. I agree with several of the comments. I don't think it is a campaign game. I'm a little bit surprised at Star Wars, like Gianni said. I'm a little bit surprised that Star Wars is that low because I think that's a fantastic game, fantastic system. But some of the others, Call of Cthulhu, on a personal note, that would probably be top 3 for me, I think. But otherwise, good. Jackals is nice to see that Jackals is in there. I do like it. I do prefer it to perhaps some of the others, but I think I'm off-put RuneQuest to a degree because I don't really understand the Gloranthan universe. Whereas, as you said, I can get that sort of Middle Eastern tribes and stuff, and I do quite like it. Spire and Heart were, in terms of systems, I think are a bit neither here nor there really. I think it's all about how you create an atmosphere. So I'm a little bit surprised to see those as high up as they are, but it was so much fun to play. It was
exactly.
Anyway, that was it.
The system doesn't get in the way of the fun, does it? Whereas I think probably in RuneQuest possibly it does get in the way of the fun sometimes. Hence the fact that against the Dark Master is where it is, probably. But
that's just an aberration, obviously.
Something about Alien and Night's Black Agents. I think maybe they suffer from one thing, which is when is it coming along? So when's the Xenomorph going to turn up? When do I get to see the coffin? And it's so you kind of know what's coming up. I think these are games that would benefit by being subverted in some way, like Night's Black Agents. Night's Black Agents. Make that a straightforward spy game. Alien, because I know there's a version which isn't colonial marines. It's about sort of trading and so on. Might be a bit not quite as straightforward, exciting. But I think there's games in there, but you do have to tweak them, direct them in another way. And I think if you do that, they could be really quite special. As presented, maybe not quite so much.
Could you have vampires and aliens and Night's Black Agents? There you go. That's job done.
You can do it, yeah.
Do it.
I just want to say something about Night's Black Agents. So I played it once, which is Chris ran it at Games Expo a few years back. It was great fun, as it was. When I ran it, I ran it actually as Judge Dredd. So that's where we used the system there, which worked okay. So Night's Black Agent, so I sort of ran it with Judge Dredd system, so obviously background. And also, just coming back, we didn't sort of touch on the fact that Fall of Delta Green is low in the thing. And I think it's not, again, about the background, it's more about the rules as they're presented in Fall of Delta Green, which the gumshoe system has got various iterations, and I think some things it does really well, other things it's really bad at, So, and I think for me, I have to do so much additional work to make the thing work that it didn't feel quite right. So that's where that came, because I didn't want to gloss over the Martin, your was it triumphant bloody Fall of the Green series you did, which was so much fun. But again, it's about where I'm coming from in terms of wanting to run it. So that's where I was with Knights Black Agents anyway.
I'm just going to say that's it, Steve. You've said goodbye to the grandfathers of role playing games. So RuneQuest is gone, D&D's gone, Traveller's gone, and now finally the final nail in the coffin, Call of Cthulhu. No, I am disappointed, sir. I am absolutely disappointed. You got rid of Call of Cthulhu. I'm now thinking the top 10 are all going to be 21st century role-playing games. There won't be any 20th century games there. It's all going to be all the new kids on the block. It's all going to be new school top 10. That's where I'm going. I love to be proven wrong, Steve. So I'm hoping in that top 10 I'm going to see something from the 20th century that, please prove me wrong.
Century boy. Yeah. I'm the toy, 21st century boy.
I was just going to comment on your love of simple systems. When we see Earthdawn at 14, which is a system designed to sell multiple dice.
I don't love simple systems.
It's a system invented by Chessex, isn't it? Pretty much, it must be. It's like take your D10, your D12, and your D4. It's.
I think you'll find that Robin Laws thinks that the dice rolling mechanism in Earthdawn, I said in a recent podcast, is the most elegant one going. I think you'll find. So. I love Earthdawn. I've got all the first edition stuff on the shelf there. I love the background. The rules themselves, I think, are of the 90s, but I just love it. I love it in all its iterations. Savage Worlds, Earthdawn, all sorts. So for me, it's always going to score up there somewhere. It is hard to play, even on a Foundry. I think it's one of those ones, like you said, Martin, it's probably better to play around a table where you can see dice exploding. I think certainly I broke Kay when we were playing Earthdawn. She constantly referred to it as being, thank me for showing her the game she did not like. But I love it, and I will run it again. I'd absolutely love to run it again. Whether I get anyone to play with me, different matter entirely. But so there you go.
All right. So I think a lot of stuff's been said about this list. I think there's probably not that much more to add. I am surprised, like Spire and Heart. I mean, it doesn't surprise me that they're in those positions, but I enjoyed Spire a lot more than I enjoyed Heart. And I don't know. I guess that just stands out to me. I think system-wise, they're okay. Jackals, yeah, great. I would play Earthdawn again.
Right, you said that. We've got it on the podcast.
Yeah. No, I will. Star Wars and Fall of Delta Green. Yeah, I mean, that was a fantastic campaign. If it's any consolation, Martin, that was higher up in my list of games.
No, it's okay.
But Star Wars, yeah. I'm surprised that that's not done better in the list.
Well, if you look at the difference between in terms of say 46 games, okay.
Yeah.
So Star Wars scored 10. Fall of Delta Green scored 9. Okay. Knights Black Call of Cthulhu 11. They're really close together.
Yes.
For those listening, I will post a picture and we'll see at the end of share with you guys in the podcast, so you can see what the differential is. There are clumps, and you can see how it's sort of close they are together.
The only other thing I've got to add is I've been taking these off as we go along, so I know what's in the top 10.
You've been paying attention, haven't you? That's what it is.
But I've got things to say.
You've got opinions.
This list is now kind of starting to mesh with my list of kind of things that are up toward the top of my list. I mean, Earthdawn, the setting I absolutely love. I think it's brilliant. Post-apocalyptic fantasy. I'm here for that. The system is almost deliberately obscurantist. I mean, it's just impenetrable. So I just can't have it that high. Fall of Delta Green, totally agree with you. I think the setting is absolutely amazing. The gumshoe system, with a bit of hard work in some places and hand waving in others, works perfectly. It's not perfect. Like I said before, I know about you're trying to hang an awful lot off the roll of 1d6, and sometimes that breaks down. But what I really love is Heart and Spire. So for me, Steve, they were way higher than this for me. I think the rules are I love the rules. I think they're great. I think the system I really like. One dice for this, one dice for that, one dice for environment. Really simple dice pool system. It's great. But for whatever reason, Steve, I think it meshed with you as GM as good as, if not the best, than any games I've played with you. I think for some reason for some reason, you seem to really get inspired by those settings. And
look, what's not to get inspired about somebody with a chest full of bees? Come on,
exactly. And I was too. I just think the settings are amazing, and I mean, it did at times look disturbingly stressful for you, but I just thought it worked so well, and I those are really brilliant. I think Cthulhu 7th edition. This is one of the ones I would say about the Foundry VTT. It's too automated, and I think it robs Cthulhu of a sense of dread.
I think around a table again. I've never played it. I've actually never. Have I ever played it in person?
I've not played. I played 7 in person once, and it is better. I think. But there we go. That's what I've got to say about that. So I'm really, really pleased to see Heart and Spire there, because I think, and I know they are modern games, but they are just fantastic games, and you ran them fantastically.
Yeah, I really enjoyed them.
It definitely benefits from being played in person or just with a dice roller. Basically, it doesn't need all the bells and whistles. I don't think it does.
I think a lot of these do, and you're quite right to say that. Obviously, these are through the lens of my play experience and running experience, which is 95% online. So. Okay, all right. So we're into the top 10. Everyone's got their thoughts. Neil's got it. He knows what's in there, but he doesn't know what the ranking is. Okay, so here we go. In at number 10, Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay. Number 9, Mug Booyah. Mug, as I call it. 8, Old School Essentials. 7, Forbidden Lands. 6, Soulbound, which is the Age of Sigmar role-playing game. 5, Lex Arcana. 4, Liminal. Top 3. Number 3, Vampire 5th edition. Number 2, Red Markets. Number 1, top of the pile, king of the castle, top of the mountain, the One Ring. Right.
Well done. Spot on.
Free League are going to be very happy.
All right, there you go. That's it. So, thoughts, reflections. So, Kat, so on reflection from you, please.
I am chuffed that Vampire is number 3, because I honestly didn't know how you were taking it in the campaign you ran for me and some others. I'm really quite chuffed by that. I'm actually chuffed with all of those pretty much, apart from Old School Ascension and Forbidden Lands. But that's another thing. No, that's brilliant. And One Ring, I'm not surprised. I know you're a massive Tolkien fan anyway. And One Ring does a fantastic job. I mean, it really does do a fantastic job of telling the story of a journey and getting somewhere and getting back again. So I'm quite glad to see that. I think all of those, again, are, well, apart from Forbidden Lands, I've never played it, but I've heard the rumours. I think almost probably you could do an easy campaign out of, I'm guessing. And Liminal, fantastic game. Red Markets, only ever played a one-shot, but I could see the scope for a campaign in it. I also loved the bargaining side of it, and also it kept the rules quite loose, so you could explore the story and the horror about where you are. So no, I'm really happy with all of that. I'm quite tough. And Vampire has beaten RuneQuest.
in my
opinion.
There's going to be arguments in our household because Andrew's already...
I love the World of Darkness, the 5th edition of it. I love Hunter, the Reckoning, or the Hunter, the new version. And Werewolf 5e is coming out soon as well. And I just really like it. I think there's a lot of... As a GM, there's a lot you need to invest into understand the rules because they're a bit confusing. I mean, we've got a podcast coming up talking about just all this stuff anyway. But in the setting and everything else, it's amazing. I absolutely love it.
They streamlined it so much from previous editions that it is so much easier. And the lore, by sort of having the elders kind of bugger off elsewhere, does mean it makes it a lot easier for new players, I think. So, yeah.
So the One Ring, Steve, 1E or 2E, the new version or the first?
New version.
The new version. So Did you ever play the first
Yep.
edition? Because I did, and I absolutely loved playing the first
Yep,
edition.
loved it, loved it.
It was gorgeous.
There is no Flavour of the One Ring that is not amazing.
I'm also kind of like intrigued because I'm quite happy that I said yes to Martin for Lex Arcana mini campaign. So I'm looking forward to that. And also, hey, you know what? I'm Italian biased, so I'm looking forward to Lex Arcana. Hey, you got a old OSE in there, so that's that you did manage to get 1/20th century, or saying that even Vampire that came out in the 90s. That came out in the 90s, but and Red Market. I don't know what it was, but you didn't sell it to me, and now I regret not playing it because everybody said it was like, I thought it was just going to be about a bunch of zombies. I thought it was going to be the Walking Dead role-playing game, or it was going to be something
there's
like
a podcast out there somewhere. That,
I thought it was going to be I thought it was going to be Wall Street, the role-playing game, and I just thought, no, I don't want to play a Financial Times Wall Street role-playing game. But then, hearing all the feedback afterwards, I regret not playing with you because it sounded really, really, really good. Especially on the last podcast.
When I run the next campaign, you're in, Fabio.
Thank you.
Right. I like to see my players suffer.
2 journeying games. The One Ring, a brilliant game about having a fantastic journey through Middle Earth, and then you've got Forbidden Lands, which is like having a journey during a train and tube strike. So I'm not quite sure.
You're thinking about the play experience, right? As the GM, watching you lot playing Forbidden Lands was just an absolute treat.
As a player, I just found it horribly tedious. It's a game where you instead of rolling to make stuff happen, you actually roll to prevent bad stuff happening, which to me is just.
Admittedly, it's a game you need to go into it. I think having experience played it and run it, I think you probably would go. I mean, I don't think you'd play it anyway because you don't like it.
No,
but I think you go into it, with a certain expectation that you should, if you can try and avoid rolling.
Exactly.
Rolling will make things bad and things happen generally. So
exactly.
Yeah, you're not rolling to succeed, you're rolling to not fail.
Exactly. I also wanted to just say it's great to see Liminal at number 4, which I think is an absolutely brilliant game, probably one of the best games released in recent years. It's so adaptable and just such a fun game to run or play. So
absolutely, it's great.
I'm glad to see it up there.
Just about Morkborg. I mean, I know it's supposed to be grimdark, but it's one of those games that it plays very different from how it's presented. I remember it as being one of the most grimly funny games I've ever said, and you start to wonder about the dark parts of your soul that are being actually brought to light by what you're actually doing in this game. So much fun, but it's the way it's presented, what you think it's going to be like, and what it's like in play is actually quite different. Old school essentials, yes, absolutely, so smooth. I mean, it's one of the few games you hear people say the layout is so good, which is an odd thing to say, but it is so smooth, so well done the way it's actually
that's why it scored so much higher than things like Lamentations. And Swords and Wizardry. I know there's a new edition of Swords and Wizardry coming out, but I think OSE is just it's great presentation.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really pleased to see OSE in there. I think it's it was a bit higher in my list, but I think it's
number one by any chance on your list?
No, it's not number one. I have the One Ring because I think I mean that was absolutely no surprise, and I think that's just the best merging of a setting and rules and it's not too crunchy and it's just full of flavor and so on. I need to play Red Markets. I think I've heard so much about it. I'd like to play that. Vampire. I played that back in the day. I've not played the new edition, so maybe that's one to play. I'm running. Obviously, going to be probably a Sunday evening. I'm running a sort of an introductory game, which I think Martin's in. There's another vampire agnostic, vampire curious. Let's call it. But yes, it's Sunday night when you can't play. I don't think you're not available. No, I can't. I always have games on Sundays. Right. But I think everything else. I agree with. I can see why it's there. Forbidden Lands. Yeah, I really look forward to playing that again. I think there's stuff to play style wise that probably we need to do differently, or you even the players need to do differently. But but great. Yeah, good list.
Very happy with that list, Steve.
I'm glad I pleased somebody.
I am. Well, I mean, I haven't played all of them, obviously, but the ones I have played are, I think, were ones that were in my top 10. So Woofrup, I think I haven't played it with you, but I'm running Woofrup at the moment, and it's just like, it's lovely. It's got a nice level of crunch. It's like the setting is just superb. The rules are well laid out and funny. So that's all great. Now, I don't want to criticize your methodology, Steve, but I am going to say I think this list smacks a little bit of recency bias.
Yeah, I'll get you.
Because I think a lot of those are stuff you're either playing right now or have played in the very recent past.
Yeah.
Which is fine. I mean, but enormously pleased to see Red Market so high, because that for me, it's almost like the anti-fun game, and yet it's such a great game to play, even though it's just kind of misery on stilts. So really good to see that get so high, because I think it's one of the games that's trying to do something with the form, is trying to actually, wear its politics so openly and actually try and push ideas out there through the form of role-playing game, and it's really interesting to see that so high, and I really like that.
Yeah, it was great fun.
And of course, the One Ring is just an immense work of real synergy between setting and system, between storytelling and crunch, between like narrative epic and kind of tactical decision making. It's great. It's a really marvelous system, and obviously Lex Arcana. Clearly, the DNA of the One Ring starts with the Lex Arcana. So there is a lot of kind of lead up to that. So it's quite interesting.
Yeah. I think you're right about recency bias. I mean, Fancy Roleplay, I haven't run it for 2 years. So that was good for Muckbug's relatively, I don't know, 18 months ago. I think there's a lot of similarities between Muckbug and Spire and Heart, certainly the way I run it anyway. So maybe it's more about me than the game. OSE, I say I haven't played for a while, but I'm prepping Dark Sun using that one. Forbidden Lands I haven't played for a while, but want to get to the table again. Soulbound I'm playing currently, and it is excellent. I love the system. I mean, the setting is just completely bonkers, but whatever. Lex Arcana, as you say. Yeah, so that's it. So
I'm just going to
the surprise one for me, Steve, was Soulbound. I was really surprised with that one, because it's just like, I don't know much about that one other than I think it's Warhammer. It's Warhammer. The role kind of like would, I was just like so really surprised. Soulbound, wow, that high up. But as it is, I think, as Martin said, recent biased. So you are playing it at the moment and you're loving it, but you really rate it, as you said.
Soulbound is 5e done right.
Okay.
There you go.
Right.
I thought it was quite gonzo when I played it.
Yeah,
I mean, it definitely favors kind of big weapons over subtlety. I mean, there's no real point in playing the kind of, the merchant or something. You need the guy. You need the guy with the kind of big. You really want to be playing the kind of marine type. Or the soulbound type. I found it.
Yeah, I mean, you are meant to be Delta Force in the mortal realm. You're meant to be tough. You're not meant to be shopkeeper.
It sounds terrible, but it sort of reminded me a bit of Rifts in that kind of. It's very. It definitely favors the kind of big dumb guy in some ways.
Well, you say that, but then the big dumb guy gets his head kicked in and ends up lying on the floor dying, which is what happens.
Yeah.
So.
Well, yeah.
All right, because I'm just conscious of your time, guys. I mean, I'll talk about this crap all day. But yeah, so that's how it all came out.
Yeah, so see, these are the games you have GM'd and played in the last 6 years. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
And you haven't left any game out?
I don't
just
think
asking
so.
Because one thing that could be interesting is also, what's not in there, right?
Yeah.
Like I noticed there's no East Asian themed game, which are, they're not super popular, but some people like to play them. And there are various kinds, there are fantasy one, historical ones, etc. And there's not a single one in there.
Yeah. So my bias is say towards things that I have bought in hard copy. And no, I mean, so give me an example of an East Asian game then that I might know.
Yeah, I don't know, like the Legend of the Five Rings, Feng Shui, or
Bushido.
Yeah,
I've got Legend of the Five Rings, so it's on the list to play. So what I did was I've got my master list, which sort of shows all the things I've played or want to play and what's coming up. Five Rings is on there. I can't remember what the color coding is for it, whatever, because I like to be organised. I'm a very blue personality. Yeah, I just haven't played it. So all I did was I went through all the ones that I know that I've either played or run, and this is what came out of it. So I don't think I've missed anything out. May have done, but anyway. All right. So on that note. Any final reflections? Any big surprises?
What that isn't on the list are you playing next?
So,
what's the next new system for you?
The next new system is going to be Rifts, so Savage Worlds. So I haven't played. So actually, I have played it once, but I didn't really understand what was going on. So I thought it's not pretty fair to put it on there.
Yeah.
But then again, I didn't understand what was happening with Hero Quest. But I didn't understand after I read the rules what was going on either. So that probably didn't help either. What else have we got coming up? I think that's about it, really. I think everything else is on there. I'm in the middle of playing it. So Expanse, Soulbound, Into Dark Masters. Yeah, that's the next really new one that's coming up.
Good work. I do like your method. I'll be honest. It was mine was just very like what I like and stuff like that. Whereas yours was a lot more analytical. So that was pretty.
It's really hard to compare things, isn't it? When you got how much more do I like this and that? So it's almost ends up with a weighted score, really. So
yeah,
you can tell I've done management consultancy in the past, right?
I think you could look back on. You could do another version where you could look at. Campaign mode and one-shot modes, and also VTT mode and round the table modes as well, because they all kind of
how much of a social life do you think I not have? I think doing this sort of shows that I'm pretty much on that level, but I do want to go out the house occasionally. To the game shop at least. So right. Okay, thanks everybody for being here so early on Saturday.
Can I still one?
Go on.
Sorry. Still in the what's not in there kind of thing. Rivers of London, because we talked about RuneQuest being crunchy, but you did like Jackals, etc. And I haven't played it yet because it's quite recent, but I have read it thoroughly, and I think it's probably one of the best BRP iterations in terms of flow of play, not being bogged down by what, some people don't like about the basic role-playing system, but keeping only the best parts of it. So not in there, not on your list.
So this is again things I would happily play Rivers of London, really. In terms of running it, not interested, don't like the background, don't like the books.
Oh, okay.
So
I like the book.
And on
that's fair enough, isn't it?
on that bombshell.
That was a public service announcement by Gianna Vaca.
What the hell do I know? My favourite album is Broadsword and the Beast by Jethro Tull, so I've clearly got no idea what I'm talking about. So, and on that, not bombshell.
All right. Cheers, everyone.
All right, cheers. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, mate.
Thanks for listening to another exploration of my gaming vexes. If you've got any thoughts you'd like to add to what you've heard here, or a gaming vex of your own you'd like to offer up for discussion, you can contact me on Twitter @AllAnthar, or you can leave a voice message. The link's on the podcast webpage on Anchor, or can be found in the show notes. Until the next time, may all your games be free of vexatiousness, and be excellent to each other, always.